There we go. There we go. Come on now. Technical issues. Let's get these guys to wake up, man. It's early. I know it's early, guys. I know it's early. Wake up on the back end. Wake up on the back end. Wake up on the back end, guys. Listen, my name is Sean Rais. You are now tuned into the Breakfast with the Brand. We are your host. I am flanked by the phenomenal Bobby Jackson, as usual, Mondays and Tuesdays. Bobby, what's the energy in the room?
1,000. Can it be 1,000?
Can it be 1,000? I'm not sure. Guys, can it be 1,000? Put it in the chat if your energy is at 1,000. What is your energy? What is your batting average? Right? What is your batting average? Now, why is your energy on 1,000, Bobby?
I'm up there because I'm falling in love with the process and I'm understanding humility in ways that I had not understood it before. I got this beautiful definition yesterday, and it was humility is the knowing of one's limitations and the internal security to ask for help. I thought that was pretty insightful. It
Say
is
that again.
the acknowledgement of one's limitations and the internal security to ask for help. And I feel like that's such a powerful definition because to truly be humble, I am now convinced that you have to push yourself to the limit. There's no way to know your limitations unless you're pushing towards them, beyond them, so you can discover them. And the beautiful thing about limitations is that today's limitation is not always tomorrow's limitation. You can improve, you can grow, you can develop. But in order to do that, you got to get help. And before you get help, you have to be secure. You've got to be confident. You've got to be conscious of your own greatness and the greatness in others that they might help you and not say stifle you or try to imprison you or mislead you. There's so much that goes into true adult-like maturity. So I'm on 1,000.
Wow. You said a lot, man. You said a lot, guys. One thing you have to know, guys, like this is not scripted. I promise you, like everything we do is impromptu. Extremely impromptu. That's why mistakes will take place, right? That's why glitches will happen. And you'll be like, what happened? What happened? Right? Glitches take place because we don't script. We want to come to you as raw and as authentic as humanly possible. So you can get the upfront, unvarnished, unpolished truth. If you have any questions, put them in the chat and we will answer them in real time just to prove to you how authentic we are and how we come to you, right? Unscripted, unvarnished, unpolished, and just raw, authentic, vulnerable, transparent. Bobby, the story you told yesterday was unbelievable, man. The story you told yesterday was really, really powerful, guys. Listen, so as you're building your personal brand, as you're building your business, let me make sure that I just create the context for everybody. I know we provide a lot of content, but let me provide the context to the people that are watching this. If and when you apply the principles and the strategies that we talk about, when you follow the example, you will be successful in your life and in your business. We're not giving you any fluff. We're not giving you any hyperbole. There will be no fire coals to walk across. This is not motivational. I mean, you may be motivated, but this is not the motivation show. This is not Sesame Street. We're here to give you sound principles that you can apply in real time to your life and to your business. So when you hear Bobby tell a story, when you hear Sean Rais tell a story, just pick it up in your head and say, wow, I should have a story. Maybe I should have a story. You should. You should. Pay attention so that you do. Create your story. Create your heartstrings. So I was doing a sales training earlier, Bobby, just like earlier this morning, like before we came in here. And I was training my team on the power of stories. The power of stories and why to have one. You absolutely need to pull on the heartstrings. Business application, guys. Pull on the heartstrings, you'll pull on the purse strings. Pull on the heartstrings, you'll pull on the purse strings. I want to give you this definition of marketing that goes so far back. It might still be there on Wikipedia. Definition of marketing, the old school definition of marketing was helping people open their wallets. Yes, sir. The magic of helping people to open their wallets. So I'm going to say this, pull on the heart. That's right. Facts tell, stories sell, Lawana. Pull on the heartstrings, pull on the purse strings. Beautiful things today. Beautiful energy this morning. Bobby said internal security. Internal security. A lot of people don't have that internal fortitude, that internal security. You know, my wife always says, do the internal work, not so much the external work. The external work will take care of itself if you do the internal work. Guys, listen, this is a serious thing. Like, you got to do the internal work. You got to be confident. And confidence, I was telling my sales professionals this morning, I said, confidence comes from competence, and your competence is going to come from consistency. Your competence is going to come from consistency in your study. You have to study. And in order for you to study, you got to have the internal security to say, hey, I need this. I need this. I can use this, right? You got to be ready to pay for things and be ready to stick it out and understand it's not going to be a microwave popcorn success that you're looking for. Because if you are looking for the quick fix, the purple pill, the ripped abs in 18 minutes, this is what I guarantee you. It will be attainable, but it will not be sustainable.
Wow. And I know we're due for a break here soon, but if I can sneak this one in here for the people.
Sneak it in. Let's give it to them.
Attainable but not sustainable is one of the things that I really want us to think about as I was rereading Principles. One of Ray Dalio's points was that too often we place too much emphasis on first order consequences instead of the second and third order consequences. And I'm going to lay that out for you guys. So it's almost like eating vegetables. He says that the first order consequence of eating a vegetable is that it might not taste good. I don't want Brussels sprouts today. I don't want that. But the second and third order consequence is that the vitamins in it or the minerals in it are good for the body. And if the body consistently eats these good things, it will likely be more durable. So when we say attainable but not sustainable, I find that a lot of times we can get super excited about the first order consequence, or we can bury the first order consequence. Like if we were to start a family without being serious, first order consequence may be, hey,
feel great.
The second and third order consequence may be 18 years of a kid not really knowing who daddy is and why mommy did it. And those first and fourth, those second and third order consequences are huge. So I just wanted to sneak that in there as you might be, thinking about.
Very good. First, second, and third order consequences. We'll be right back. When we come back, I'm going to answer Jordan Knox's question. He asked a question that makes me laugh, but also makes me reflect, because he might be looking in my bio when he asked this question. He says, how do we manage our intensity with people who may perceive it as aggressive? We'll be right back. This is The Breakfast with the Brand. Let's grow. There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. Okay. So watch this, Jordan and everybody else. First rule of business, customer service and customer acquisition. Know who you're talking to. First rule, especially underline it, highlight it if you're a speaker. First rule of speaker business, know your audience. So when you watch me speak, when you watch the commercials, you'll see me around multiple demographics. You'll see me outside, you'll see me inside. You'll see me in rooms with a darker hint, a darker tint, and a darker hue. And then you'll also see me in audiences with a more, how do you say, a lighter tint or a lighter hue. Now, for those of you who know me, you know I can be very loud at times. I'm told a lot of, Sean, you're loud. Oh, you're real powerful. You're booming. Your bass booms. It carries. Now, knowing the audience, I know there's certain rooms where I can't project that way because it's intimidating. So what is inspiring to one audience may be intimidating to another. So what I do is I stay open, intuitive, and I utilize, and this is one of the creative faculties that many people don't tap into, but the best speakers do and the best business people do, sensory perception. Perception. These are the reasons why you want to meditate. These are the reasons why you want to exercise. These are the reasons why you want to drink a lot of water. These are the reasons why you don't want your mind cluttered with nonsense, so that you can exist on a higher vibration and a higher frequency, so you can kind of tune into the energy in the room. When you walk in the room, you can say, okay, this audience doesn't need this kind of approach. And when you're speaking with a prospect, you do a feeling out process. You got to be intuitive. Women are phenomenal at this. Women are great at this. Like, their mothers are so intuitive. They're so sensitive to the energy and the vibration. Guys, the cleaner you eat, the cleaner your mind, the cleaner things that you watch. And when you don't let like negative energy and negative frequency into your circumference, it's real easy to walk into a room. You ever walk into a room and just feel something?
All the time.
You ever walk into a room and just feel something where you know, oh, nah, this isn't the room for me? Or this is a warm room. It's a very receptive room. You got to be intuitive, Jordan. Anybody paying attention to this, you have to know your audience. You have to know who you're speaking to. One mind, one purpose. Every room is not the same. Every audience is not the same. Every prospect is not the same. Every person is not the same. So your message has to be tailored to the audience that you're speaking to.
I think that's so powerful when we start thinking about leading ourselves, because we are an audience, believe it or not. At least that's my personal belief. It's like at different stages in your development, you're going to be a certain type of person. You're going to be, I like to use this term called scripts. So a script is kind of like a habit, a way of thinking. It's a script. And most people don't know what script they're running. They're programming. They don't know what their programming is. So they can't effectively talk to themselves. And because they can't effectively talk to themselves, they end up being tyrannical. And a tyrant is someone who demands unreasonable things of someone. And when they do this, the individual that they're demanding them upon lose respect for the individual. Let me say it another way. Sometimes we can set goals so high and we can demand of ourselves unrealistic things that end up having us losing faith within ourselves because we don't know our audience. We don't know that we never gave 100% a day in our life. We've lived the life, but we don't know. I got that one from listening to Eric Thomas yesterday. He said, you hear somebody tell you you can make 6 figures, all you got to do is knock on a door 100 times, but you ain't never give 100% in your life. To knock on a door 100 times, you're going to have to give 120%. You've been lazy your whole life. You're going to get to that door 50, boom, and you're not going to make it.
That's
and
right.
When that happens, you got to know your audience. Okay, I might be a little bit lazy. If I'm talking to a lazy audience, I don't motivate this person with work. That person is going to run away from the work. So what do? I've got to give him something to make him feel as if he has a point of leverage. So hear me, like, and I'm not going to go down this road too much, but like lazy people, there is a saying that says, if you want something done smartly, give it to a lazy person. Because lazy people don't want to do the work. They don't want to sit there and grind things out. So they're like, if you want something done efficiently, give it to a lazy person. They'll find the most expedient way to do it. So when you're talking to yourself and you know that you can be a tad bit lazy at times, what you say to yourself is, how can I do this in the point of the most efficiency? So I just wanted to put that in everybody's, thought process and in your hearing, because it's important, because you're in the audience. And the better you get, Sean, you say this in one of the commercials. You say, I don't want to butcher it, but you say, the better you know yourself, the better you know others. And sometimes we can aggressively show up and people might mistake our intensity because we honestly might not know ourselves enough to understand other people. So that's my own challenges that I had, just having a blended family and being a militant man and coming into a home where the boys had been raised by a woman, and the daughter had only known her mother. So what I thought was effective was very ineffective. The audience that I had never experienced a man showing up as aggressively as I did. And it took me learning myself and my own limitations and my own, there's a word I'm looking for, trauma, so to speak, that I just had to work through. So I wanted to put that out there for you, Jordan, because introspection is a powerful thing, brother. At least it has been for me.
Very good. Very good. So actually, that was a beautiful question because it actually sparked a desire in me to be of service. That's what we do, guys. We're always of service. Absolutely must be of service. So if you are looking at the bottom of the screen and you see the link there, put that link in another browser and then take that assessment later. Because the first thing that I did that helped me learn who I was, self-awareness is the key, guys. Self-awareness is the key to business development, personal development, professional development, economic development. If you're trying to build your business, if you're trying to build a relationship, communications is everything. And like Bobby said, know your audience. You got to know who you are first. So I have to know who I am before I can tailor my voice to the audience. Guys, share this out. Let me ask that of you. Like it's a free resource, right? We provide this resource freely. So what I'm going to ask you to do is also free. Share this out to your audience so they can learn about the power of communication, because communication is where we fail. Communication is where we fail in business. Communication is where we fail in community. Communication is where we fail in our health. A lot of us have things going on, and we know we have things going on, but we don't communicate those things going on. And I guess that would take that internal security, right? To be have humility and be humble and say, listen, I feel a pain. I feel a pain, right? I feel a pain. I'm not sleeping. This is going on with me. I notice something, but I'm not saying something. You know how they say, if you see something, say something. If you feel something, say something. If you feel something, say something. Seriously. Like, you got to know yourself. Self-awareness is key. Self-awareness is everything. So that little ticker you see at the bottom of the screen is a self-awareness assessment. It's a leadership development assessment. And I guarantee that if you put that in a browser and use this after the call, what you're going to find is that this is more powerful than the last 10 coaching sessions that you've had. I don't care who you work with. Because what this is you. This is an X-ray of you. So a lot of times coaches will give you their perspective, but there's nothing as powerful as your own perspective. And this will give you your own perspective as well as how you're perceived, right? So there's how we think we're perceived, and then there's how we're actually perceived by others. So one of the things that I have to know before I walk into the room and lower my voice to accommodate the room is that I have a naturally loud voice. My voice projects. I can be physically imposing, which is phenomenal in a room full of the military and high leadership alpha males. They enjoy it. They love it. Now we're on the same frequency. We're talking the same language. But if I'm in the room with housewives, right? Or how do you say, Avon sales ladies and representatives, then that dominating, that big gregarious energy has to be toned down a little bit. And I have to tap into another personality trait. We call them archetypes. Yeah, we call them archetypes. There's the warrior, there's the lover, there's the magician. There's many archetypes and many different personality types. And if you don't know where you are on that scale, then you don't know how to ameliorate or accommodate your ideal audience. And that's why your stuff is off. It's not because you're not the right person. It's not because you don't have the right thing. It's not because your intentions aren't good. It's not because you're not a good person. It's that you're not learning good communication skills. And the best way to learn good communication skills is to know who you are. There's a presenter and there's a receiver in all communications, in all messaging. And you got the idea, but if you don't have full knowledge of the receiver, of the sender, of who you are, then you're going to be sending your frequency and your messaging up here, guys. And I really, really, really had to learn this. I got so much energy and I'm so innocent and want to help so many people that I was just trying to save everybody when I started. I was trying to save everybody with the most energy in the world. And, if I learned something, I said something. Learn something, say something. I'm going to school, college. Learn something, say something. And people are like, Sean, you're losing us. They saw me as being extremely aggressive. It wasn't that I was aggressive. It was that I was passionate and I was excited and I wanted everybody else to be excited. And I wanted everybody to hear me. So I said what I said loud. I said it powerfully and I didn't back up sometimes. But sometimes instead of me having my heart in the right place, it felt like I had my foot on their necks. Because every receiver doesn't receive energy the same way or passion the same way. So you got to learn how to humble yourself, learn how to take instruction, learn inflection, tonality, and know when to lower your voice.
This is so good because I genuinely believe that synergy is one of the lost arts of humanity. The lost arts. And I just want to talk a little bit about synergy because, again, when was the last time you used that word in a sentence? When's the last time you said synergy? And it's who says that? We don't. But the reality is, if you've read Think and Grow Rich and you know about the mastermind group, that's synergy. If you've read what some call the good book, and they say when two or more come together and are in agreement, then he is in the midst. That's the third mind. That's synergy. And the art of communication is truly the art of cultivating and maximizing synergy. but we don't know about synergy. We don't think about synergy. So one of the things that I really want to bring to the forefront here that I was writing down and just listening is the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about seek first to understand before seeking to be understood. Powerful, powerful concept. It's key to effective communication in my experience. So one of the things that I have had to learn, and I think I've learned it painstakingly, is empathetic listening. So I was a pretty insecure individual just because of how I was brought up. Like, I was brought up in a terrorizing environment. Literally, their goal was to make me feel inferior and fearful and walk on eggshells so that they could feel good about themselves. And when adults do this to you and your environment does this to you and you just see it happening to everybody around you, it becomes a part of your script, a part of the story, the narrative you tell yourself. So I was constantly trying to defend my manhood. Even though I was so far from being a man, it's still instinctive to us. And you could say self, because this is feminine, masculine. You could say self. I was constantly trying to defend myself, right? And that's Stephen Covey, by the way, from the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But one of the things that I noticed was if we lack security within ourselves, and we try to understand other people empathetically, we will shut down. And I'll give you an example. Like, for me, one of my biggest things was listening to my wife and the stories that made her who she was, because I love her so much and I care so much. So I hate to hear her hurting and hear her telling stories. And for me, when I would listen to her and I would try to listen empathetically, a nerve would strike. I would start to feel small man syndrome or about something. I would start comparing myself to past lovers. I would start thinking in all of these small-minded ways because I lacked security. And that lack of security made it nearly impossible for me to empathetically listen to what she was trying to say. And when you don't empathetically listen to your audience, ladies and gentlemen, like this is Breakfast with the Brand, like it goes into business. I learned that the better I could hear my wife, the better I could hear the market. Real talk. Like, the more I understood the sentiments of an emotional individual, someone that is seeking to express themselves without using the words that I would identify with the expression. Said another way, women don't always say what they're feeling, but they express it to you 15 different ways. The market isn't going to come out and say, I was abused as a child. I want you to sell me this because I'm feeling insecure about myself. The market is probably going to show up in a watch that they can't afford, wearing a chain that doesn't really look right, in a shirt that's 10 times too big, talking about something that they've never done. And the sentiment, when you can engage with the sentiment, when you can empathetically acknowledge, we were talking about the energy, like when you can perceive energy and not just feel energy, those are what I believe sensory perceptions.
That's right.
So many powerful components we've been talking about today. So I just wanted to put that piece out there for everybody listening, is that internal security, that internal fortitude, that consistently improving yourself and developing your confidence is essential to being able to empathetically engage with others. And I found that necessary for what do we say? Keeping your finger on the pulse of the market.
Finger on the pulse, ego in check. We'll be right back. This is the Breakfast with the Brand.
I said Sean East. I'm proud. I said Sean East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, yes, yes. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys. So knowing your audience, right? Knowing your audience. Here's something that I have to do. Like, I'm always in the comments. I'm always reading you guys' comments and suggestions and opinions and, you know, even disagreements. Like, I welcome disagreements and challenges. It's a beautiful thing, right? So when I said what I said about the alpha male in the military and then the housewives at maybe like an Avon syndicate, Luana said, careful. Feminine energy can go head to head, and I can attest to it. Trust me. I can definitely attest to that. And then she says, knowing how people receive is the key to open the doors of opportunity and community, right? And that's the key. Knowing your audience. So let's talk about sales real quick. Let's talk about business. How do you find out what the energy looks like? The way you find out what the energy looks like is to take a temperature reading. Take a temperature reading. And the way you take a temperature reading in sales is asking open-ended questions. Open-ended questions so that you can get more information. So data gathering is very important. I walk into a room full of people. I walk out on stage and say, what's the energy like? I don't know who came before me. I just came here. What's the energy like? Guys, listen, my name is Sean Rais. We're about to get into something. But before we do, I just want to know what the energy is like. Does anybody need an intervention? What's going on? Talk to me. This is not going to be a symposium. This is not going to be a soap opera. I'm not going to be standing up here at the soapbox just speaking to you. I want this to be interactive. So how's everybody feeling? And I'll see who, where, what, how people respond and what the murmuring is and what the energy is like, who raises their hand, who doesn't. Real quick, you got to take a temperature reading in the room. I do the same thing in the community. I'll come in the community. I say, what's the energy in the room, guys? What's the energy like? How's everybody feeling? Scale from 1 to 10. Just to get a reading, because listen, we going through stuff. Like everything is real. Like we all come from an interesting background and every background is different. However, it's still extremely delicate, extremely intricate, extremely sophisticated. And if you don't know this, then you will not be connecting with your ideal client, no matter what you have. You got the best thing since, sliced bread and still not be making any money. And if you're not making any money, then there's a gap in your resonance. If your money is off, there's a gap in your resonance. There's a gap in your connecting. There's a gap in your what we call attenuation, attending to. Many times we don't attend to the needs of the client because we're attending to our own needs. And sometimes, like Bobby said, you don't even know, like you don't know your audience, so you don't know what your own needs are. You're just missing them. Think about this, guys. The real talk. I have a clinical background, right? I have a clinical background. So let's say you walk into the medical checkup. It's your 6-month check-in. and everything feels fine. But when they do the blood work, they're like, you're low in sodium, or you're low in B12. Something's going to be off in your communication, in your gait, in your balance, in your sight, in your speech. There's something off. There's always something off. The more you can know about yourself, the more balanced you can be, and the more you can attend to the needs of everyone else. Many times, and watch this, guys, in leadership, in service, in being in service to others, many times we serve others to the highest degree, and we lack. We're lacking. There's something missing in us. We're not getting the sleep we need. We're not getting the right level of, how do you say, oxygenation. We're not breathing deep. We want to be deep in business, but sometimes we're shallow. We're not as deep as we think we are. Right? We're not as deep as we think we are. So, you got to make sure that you're balanced, that you have the right components. And that's where communication starts, communicating to yourself, self-love, right? Jordan just asked, he said, speak on how to incorporate God into your business. Okay, listen, there's a physical reality, there's a business reality, and there's a spiritual reality. And everybody interprets their spirituality differently. And that's welcome here. You're not supposed to have to attend or bend or, dance around someone else's spiritual identification. But you need it. It's a very important component. And if you don't have it, it's that chemical imbalance. You could be doing phenomenal in business. You could be doing phenomenal in your resources. But if your spirituality is off, your frequency, it's again, like, right, Bobby, what did I say? Attainable, but not sustainable. You will have a gap. You will have a gap. So when I wake up early in the morning and I'm exercising, who you think I'm talking to? I'm still having dialogue. I'm still having dialogue, but it's not earthly dialogue. It's heavenly dialogue, and it's spiritual dialogue. And that has to be present. If it's not, then you will fall victim to physical things, and your physical reality will be off because your spiritual reality is imbalanced. So no matter what your understanding of it is, spirituality, Christian, Buddhism, Muslim, whatever your spiritual reality is, you need one. And you better have it in your business, because if it's lacking in your business, that'll be found out too. I always say this is a spiritual game. Business is a spiritual game. I always say that God is in the details, but so is the devil. And sometimes you can feed other people everything they need and still be lacking yourself. And if you are, then success will be sustainable. Success will be attainable, but it will tell on you because it will not be sustainable. What is your understanding? What is your interpretation? What is your experience with this?
I like to call it stealth wealth. So a lot of the wealthiest people have done a lot of stealth work that happened behind the scenes, work that no one knows ever took place. And personally, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to faith, that is normally stealth work. That's stealth work. And I'm going to give you guys something. I'm going to give you guys a gift. Sean gave you guys a gift. Let me give y'all a gift. So this won't be in the form of a link, but if you write this down, it will and can transform your life if you do it. So many people do not know how to construct personal philosophies. Okay. So a personal philosophy is one of the first steps to integrity. So when we are young, we're given a script. Some of us are given the Bible. Some of us are given the Quran. Some of us are given the streets. Some of us are given, whatever it have you, the society.
We're about to get deep, guys. Right? Go ahead, Bobby.
And once we're given this script, there was a criminal psychologist that said criminality is rarely natural, but it is normalized. An individual that steals for the first time has a consciousness that says taking from another for myself is wrong. But the second, third, and fourth time they do it, they say, better him than me. The 9th, 10th, and 20th time they do it, they say, there is honor amongst thieves. They have a code of honor. They have normalized this to the point that it is now ethical within their paradigm, within their perspective, within their philosophy. And the problem with the inability to create your own personal philosophies, we get stuck in scripts that we did not create for ourselves. And that's when we lose our authenticity. Shakespeare said, if you are true to yourself, you can be false to no other man. The only way that we can truly be true to ourselves, in my experience, is to know our own personal philosophy for life and to live in accordance with it. It was Walter D. Wallace that said, every time you compromise your convictions, you lose your power. Every time. And what we do is we have convictions that we have not formalized, so we transgress against ourselves regularly. And if we transgress against our convictions more and more and more, we lose our authenticity. So if I said that another way, if I know right from wrong instinctively, spiritually, but I'm following a script that does not align with my core beliefs, and I don't have the ability to create a philosophy that is in alignment with my core beliefs, I'm hit. I'm walking through life bombarded with this marketing and with this messaging that does not align with who I am. And when this happens, the first thing to go is the self. And when the self goes, so many other things go with it. So as far as how I perceive the spirituality piece, the stealth is wealth, and all of these things, guys, is that we have to learn. And again, my background before it was finance and economics, it was philosophy. I was originally going to be a philosophy professor, and that was what I originally studied in college or set out to study. But here's the gift that I want to give you. I call it the 3 dimensions of wealth. I use this myself. This is how I construct paradigms. This is how I constructed my philosophy, and this is how I evolve it annually or however often. So number 1, you have what I call the God paradigm. So the God paradigm is how you experience the world around you. So the phrase goes like this: we do not see the world for what it is, but for how we are. We don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. So your God paradigm is the script that you write for interpreting the world. It's number 1, because that's how you show up in the world. Number 2 is the relational paradigm. We are designed, in my experience and study, to be social. We feel valued when we are contributing to society, when we're giving back, when we are socializing. So the relational paradigm is important. So that's when we understand who we value, why we value them, and we prioritize them. So first, God paradigm. Who am I and how do I show up in the world, and what script do I use to process my existence? Relational paradigm is who matters to me, why do they matter, and how have I prioritized my service to them? Because when this is done properly, it should recharge you. You should give to others, and those others should give back to you, creating a domino and a positive feedback loop. And then the third paradigm is the purposeful paradigm, or the meaningful paradigm. So this is where your purpose in life, your meaningfulness, like why you believe you were put on this planet. And when you have that paradigm, that is really when you are identifying what moves you, like what thing excites you into action. We call it animation. What animates your being? And when you know what animates you and you hone in on that, then you can apply the 4D framework, but just discipline yourself. Say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, and dedicate yourself to living in that way. It was Socrates who said, the undisciplined life is not worth living. So we want to be disciplined in our purpose that we might have a meaningful life. So I understand this, and I construct my own philosophy. I do not walk around like letting marketers and all of this television and Netflix and radio and rap and R&B and like that does not control my thinking, but it does for so many people because they don't know how to script themselves. So I just wanted to give y'all that gift. So you put that in order, you'll do a level of stealth work that so many people have forgotten to do or never taught to do or don't even know they should do.
That was deep. I think we're going to go to a break. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaways just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
Business is like a game of chess. It's not checkers. If you don't know how to lead with a personal brand, then you're losing the battle.
Everything about Sean's talk was fantastic. I mean, I got so much from it.
So he was really bringing fire and passion and just love and spirit to let everybody else know how do you become a leader amongst the leaders.
You hold the key in your hand. There is more power in this phone than there was that took the first man to the moon.
His energy, his dynamic information, gave a really great presentation.
I didn't ask for any money. I didn't have an offer. I had a heart to help people and meet them where they were at and find their need and fulfill it.
Sean is the bomb.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're gonna add a zero to the world, but you'll also add a zero to your revenue. Let's grow.
Been a powerful morning. Yes. Been a very, very powerful morning. If you guys are enjoying these powerful mornings that we provide, put something in the chat. Let us know. Talk to us. Like, put something in the chat. If you're on LinkedIn right now, put a 2 in the chat. If you're on Facebook right now, put a 1 in the chat. And if you're on YouTube, put a 3 in the chat. Like, let us know. Talk back to us. I want to make sure that we're providing you with the highest quality service possible. Something that you don't have to pay for finally, right? For God's sakes, like, when do they give back? Like, there's always an invoice and there's always a collection. Like, when do they make deposits? Like, when do they make deposits, guys? Listen, if you've never been given anything for free, accept this as gratuity, right? Accept this as gratuity. We know it isn't easy. We know it isn't easy building your business. We know it's hard constructing a phenomenal life in an imperfect world. We know that it's not easy. You have so many demands. So, and look, as soon as you turn around, it's holidays again. More, holidays are good and they're bad at the same time. My father used to tell me this. He said, Sean, listen to what my father told me when I was 13, 12. As soon as I could reason, my father told me this. He said, Sean, more people commit suicide between Thanksgiving and New Year's than any other time during the year. That's what my father told me. He said, be careful. Be very careful. And I think it was the same thing Bobby was talking about when he said these paradigms and these constructs. He said, be very careful. Don't get caught up. Don't get swept up. Don't get swept up into what you can't do. And there's another psychology precept in business and life that says, focus on what you can control. There's internal and external locuses of control. Locus of control. When I learned this in college, it was like, whoa. I had always been impacted because I held that script from my mother. My mother was always impacted by things that were out of her control. She cried when she saw things going on in the news that had no physical impact, no direct impact at all into her day to day, but it impacted her in such a way that it impacted her health. It created a negative reality in her health and in her emotions. And for a long time, I picked that up and I was very angry about things that I couldn't control. Guys, you can't control the past. You can't control the past. You can't control what happened 400 years ago. We can't control that. Now, we know some things took place that were not right, but we also know some things took place that created a new reality that is phenomenal. So we get to choose how we articulate ourselves around these constructs and these stories and these scripts that we create for ourselves. So I'm so glad that we have been impacting people positively. I got a lot of 1s and 3s, and I appreciate that. Like, we appreciate that. We want to be of service. We want to help you because we know it's not easy. Listen, if you're watching this right now and you're trying to start your business and you don't know where the next client is coming from, I've been there. We've both been there. Bobby and I have been there. If you're wondering where your next payment is coming from, where your next car payment is coming from, where your next house payment is, we've been there too. I've been on every side that you can possibly imagine. This is why I keep my Blackberries right here, so I can let people know, like, wherever you are, wherever you are in your business, you're probably starting from a better place than I did. If you got an iPhone, you're starting from a better place than I did. And everybody gets it. Like, you got iPhones on lease, like they lease houses. You know what I mean? People got, like when I started, I didn't even have an Android, guys. I know there's a war between iPhone and Android. When I started my business, I didn't have an Android. So if you got an Android, you blessed. As much as iPhone guys hate you, it's all good, right? Don't worry about it. Listen, I want you to be confident in this. You're starting from somewhere that Sean Rais did not have as an opportunity. You're starting your business from somewhere way ahead of me. Way ahead of me. I was buried in corporate. That was it was so bad because I was underground most of the time, Bobby. Like, I was literally underground in transit, like going in the subway stations from job that, you know what I mean? Like, it's real in New York. Like, you'll be underground for hours and hours. And those hours accumulate. And you'll also be running underground for the trains. Like, so it's a real situation where after a year of this, and listen, guys, let me just give it to you this way. And it's a construct I used to have. And it's a construct I still have. It's a reality. Because I had a lot of opportunities. I had a lot of opportunities based on where I come from. And one of those opportunities that came around was a corrections officer. Yeah, one of those opportunities that came around was corrections. Another one was counseling on Rikers Island. Now, I love giving back. I love the underserved. I love the underprivileged. I love people that have made a mistake and want to change their lives. I love being of service to that population. But watch this, Bobby. And everybody else pay very close attention to what I say, because this will affect your quality of life. I said to myself, I love the idea of serving this population. I love the idea of being a positive impact to people when they're at their most raw, most vulnerable, most open, most accepting of change. It's an incredibly open, incredibly raw, incredibly accepting of change population. When the people are incarcerated, when the people are like, you're ready for change, like you're ready for something different. And I had a really good opportunity to go inside the penal institutions and help those people as a voice for possibility. But this is what I said to myself. I said, okay, now if I take this on, your work day is 8 hours. This is the way I think. I think in systems. So your work day is 8 hours. Well, 8 times 3 is 24. So for every 3 days that you're spending on your job, you've spent one entire 24-hour cycle there. Everybody understand? You follow me so far? For every year, for every day that you spend 8 hours. Multiply that by 3. 3 days of work, you've got one full 24-hour cycle day inside your job, wherever that might be. Well, if you spend 3 years on any given job, you've got an entire year inside of that situation. So I said, well, Bobby, if I become a CO, if I become a corrections officer, if I become a prison counselor, if I spend 3 hours in this is not we're not talking about overtime either. We're not talking about overtime. We're talking about just straight 9 to 5, 8 hours a day. I said, if I spend 3 years in this capacity, that's 1 year that I've spent in jail. I said, hold on. I said, hold on. Because I'm committed. I'm one of those committed people. So if I spend 9 years in that, listen, guys, if I spend 9 years in that capacity, then I've spent 3 years in jail. We got to be real smart about where we spend our time and what we're going to do with our lives and our time. I just want you to think. Thank you very much. I want you to think. If you got 10 years on a job, 9 years on a job, you got 3 years in the job. So make sure that you're staying true to your morals, your values, and your principles, and you're doing something that's completely 1000% aligned. Because if not, it might be worth the 2 to 3 years that you have to invest in yourself. It might be worth the $200,000 to $300,000 that you might have to invest in yourself to break free. Because if you spend 30 years in a situation, you spent 10 years there physically. And that's 10 years that you've taken away from your family. I just want you to think about that this morning. This is the breakfast of the brand. Let me give you something to think about. Let's grow. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're going to add a 0 to the world, but you'll also add a 0 to your revenue. Let's grow.